Today, we're lighting this and this using just home light. So let's cue the intro.
Patiently waiting on my dreams to come true, hoping and praying one day that they do.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Zero Gravity Design Studio. Today I'm going to be showing you two different lighting setups using just natural light and or home lights. So we're going to be doing one scene with just natural light and just, home stuff. And we're going to be doing another scene, same perspective, nothing's going to change. And we're going to be doing that with just home lights and nothing more. So a bit of a backstory here. So why I'm doing this, to why I'm doing this. I've had a lot of trouble when I was gearing up to start this channel because, I didn't know what my lighting was going to be like. And I wanted to, get it really good. And I had to rely on natural light and home lights because I don't have any film lights. I didn't have it back then. I still don't have it. So I had to rely on them. And through countless hours of scouring YouTube, watching tutorials, and about 350 gigs of test footage later, I found a couple of ways that I'm pretty happy with. And from what I've learned from those are also like lighting with natural light is not as easy as you might think, and lighting with home lights are easier than you think. It's not easy, it is hard, but it is still manageable. But before we get to that, I'd also like to share a couple of general tips. So let's get to them. Composition is a super important thing. Like if I'm against a bland white wall, which I usually try not to be, but even with this types of stuff or with the blank white wall, I try to have a little bit more distance between my backdrop and myself, because it just gives a bit more visual interest to the viewer, to the scene, and the viewer actually knows that there's depth in the scene, that they can actually understand the three-dimensionality of the scene, which is pretty cool and visually interesting. And also, I have these leading lines like this TV right here, and this windows pointing at me, and this roof is pointing at me. These are all kind of the visual tips that nudges our eye in the direction of the subject. At this point, there's also set design that comes into play. So I have a background which is pretty, it's earthy tones. They don't have a lot of saturation in them. They don't have a lot of colors. And I am standing here, I'm popping out because I have this green top. Like this fella, like this fella, like this fella. So it just nudges your eye in the, in the right way, because I pop out in this scene. Plus, it complements the story of this being like an earthy, calm type of vibe, and it also complements my skin tone, my eyes, so it just brings everything together. And at this point, we also have to think about our camera, or the focal length to be more precise. Like if I have a 16mm lens and I'm talking like this to you, it's a bit more of a, it's a bit more personal vibe. But if I have a, 150mm lens and I'm 6 meters away, it's a different vibe. It's not so personal anymore. It's a different type of story that we're telling. And on that, I always try to shoot the shadow side. It doesn't matter the focal length. It doesn't matter where it is. I just try to shoot the shadow side always, because, when a light like this comes in, I have the brightest part of my face, brighter part of my face, and the darker part of my face, which gives it the cool natural contrast. It's naturally very visually interesting, and we want to play into that. That is why we're shooting from the shadow side, the darker side, and not the brighter side, because like I said, it's just visually more interesting. And we're gonna come into more examples of what it happens when you shoot like this, or just shoot the brighter side. So without further ado, let's get to the whole lighting setup type of stuff. Let's go. So here we are, the first example scene, which you've seen the whole time actually, but I'm just gonna explain what's going on here. So I've got these two huge lights and in front of me, in the back of the camera, it's kind of like exactly here. You're seeing the image right now, but it's not giving me a direct lighting, so it's just soft, so it doesn't have a problem, so I didn't have to use curtains there. On the right side of my face, I have these huge windows, which are giving pretty harsh light. And since we don't want that, I've just used my curtains to soften the light that's coming in here. And with that, I usually get the soft, you know, the soft shadows, so soft light fall off, this soft shadow in my the right side of my face, and in the darker side of my face, I've literally got this janky setup of my of my IKEA light stand with a black bathrobe over it. So this is giving the darker side of my face a bit more darker. So like I'm gonna show you the difference when I remove it, how brighter this part of my face gets. I hope there's actually a difference to see in your YouTube video too, but this darker side of my face is a bit brighter than I'd like it to be, so that's why adding the negative fill there is doing a lot, and I'm just gonna fix that issue right now again, sorry. So we're back to my normal scene. And as far as the last thing goes, like I said, always shooting shadow side helps a lot. Now, I'm gonna move the camera to not shadow side, to my brighter side, and I think, let's go. All right, let's just do it like this. Yep, as you can see right now, I'm shooting from the brighter side of my face. And for me, for my taste, this is not as visually interesting as shooting from the shadow side, because I don't know, it's interesting. We're used to that. We're seeing it all over in Hollywood films, and you know, I don't know, we're just used to that, and it's more visually interesting. So let's just go back there. To sum this whole thing up, shooting from shadow side helps. If you have big windows like this that are coming, you know, sunlight's coming in, doing just a curtain over that super hard shadow, super hard light helps to soften the light. And if you can add, or if you want to add a negative fill, a bathrobe or a jacket or something dark, is completely fine with that. Now, as far as the camera settings go in here, like I said, shooting from shadow side, I'm shooting at ISO 500 at f5.0. I'm kind of blowing out there a bit, but I still have the 7.2 zebras on the brighter side of my face, which, if you don't know what that is, it's just a, you know, perfect exposure for my skin tone in S-Log2, and I did a video last week about that topic. So if you want to know about that, you can also check that out. And we just went in a bit more in depth in that video to all the settings in the camera, and you know, how I expose for S-Log and stuff. So you can also go check that out too. Other than that, I'm shooting at 30 millimeters APS-C, so it is about 45 millimeters in full frame, and it's, I don't know, I think the camera is about a meter away from me, I would say. So these are the camera settings, but without further ado, let's get to the night scene. So this is the night scene, people. Now, off the bat, you're seeing a lot of different stuff going on here. I know. First of all, the brighter side of my face is now the left side and not the right side. And since I've shown you the scene, you know that there's no real, like, this light is not motivated from a window or anything. It's not motivated by moonlight or anything. But I mean, that's not what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to light a talking head shot like this. So I'm just gonna have to go with this, with the story of a talking head shot. So I have my phone here. I'm going to be showing you around the light setup right now. So this is you guys. You're seeing this from there. I have these two desk lamps, and they're sitting on my desk. And as you can see, they're both bouncing from the wall. Now this black one is bouncing just from the wall to my face and working as my key light. This white one is bouncing off from the wall and a bit from the window, which is giving me a good wrap around my face. And the wraparound part is also very low output because it's just a window and it's bouncing back maybe 5% of light back. So it's giving me a very nice wrap around my face, and they fall off. Now this is my fill light. This fill light, this classic IKEA standing light, it's got a diffusion layer around it, which is pretty cool. And what's happening here is it's giving me a good fill, and it's bouncing off from the wall there and from my curtains there. So it's giving me another bounce there, which is a softer one because the one from the curtain is a lot softer than the one from the wall. And it's just kind of like doubling the output. And I have this small ambient light, which is just for ambience, and I have the TV on again for ambience and a bit more storytelling kind of a thing. I like Noel Gallagher. So this is the light setup. So since I've shown you the setup, I'm actually going to go, these are all smart lights, by the way. So I'm controlling everything from the IKEA Home Smart app, not sponsored or anything. Just I'm using IKEA around the house. So yeah. So I'm going to turn off all the lights and we're going to turn them all on one by one to see what they do. This is all the lights off and just my computer and just the TV. And now I'm turning on my key light, this black light that I've told you about. As you can see, now what this is doing is giving me a pretty harsh lighting here, because the dark side of my face is really dark and the bright side is a lot brighter than the dark side. And now look at what the other key light's gonna do, the white one, the wrap around one. Now this is wrapping my face around really nicely. And if I turn off the first one, you can see a difference. I mean, that versus this is a huge difference. And if we combine them together, I'm getting a real nice softbox-like key light. I mean, yeah, of course. Okay, it's not fully softbox-like, but you know, the best we can do here. And the thing is, they're both at 73% right now. They're both at 73%. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my fill light, which is the stand light that you've seen. Now this is basically upping the exposure around the whole area. This is at, I'm going to go 50% on this. So I'm getting a good base exposure for the darker side of my face and the whole scene. And now we're gonna open the ambient light and voila, we have the cool night scene. I'm just gonna show you what the fill light does. This is a fill light alone. This is the ambient light alone. And this again, everything on. And you know, I'm pretty happy with the setup. It took a long time to come to this point, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with the setup. But for a scene like this, there are two drawbacks. The first one being these power lines that you're probably seeing right now, which is causing, because these are home lights, these are not like COB lights, they're not continuous lights, not LED lights. This is happening because the power grid thing in Europe is 50 hertz. That's why, I mean, we're at shutter speed 1/50. That's also, we're using 25 FPS and stuff like that. You know, there's a whole thing. But even that shutter speed is not fast enough to compensate for those lights, for those, you know, these lines. If I had a higher end camera, ZV-E10 or FX30, those are two, you can go 1/51, 1/52 in the shutter speed. So you get nearly no lines or like very little lights. And the second major drawback of this kind of a shot is ISO. Now, since it's a night scene, we have to pump the ISO pretty high up. And I'm at 5000 ISO right now, and I'm not getting the 72% zebras as I want. And in post, I did a test shot with this. I am pushing this up one stop, so I'm getting noise. I wouldn't say a lot of noise. I wouldn't say unacceptable levels of noise, but we're still getting a lot of noise in a scene like this. And other than these two major drawbacks, kind of major, but it's a necessary evil. So I would say, other than these two drawbacks, not major, just drawbacks, this kind of a light setup is pretty easy to do. I mean, I've spent 8 months trying to get this thing to perfect this thing, but you know, it's a pretty easy thing to do. So yeah, let's just get to my intro. let's just do the outro before I lose my light. Now, these are the basic frameworks of lighting basically every scene. Now, when the gear grows, the lighting setups can get quite more complicated, but I'm always a fan of keeping everything as simple as possible. Plus, it's so much easier to clean up after yourself then. If you're interested in more in-depth camera settings and exposing for S-Log2 and stuff like that, I did a video last week, so you can check that out here or in the description below. I'll just put a link there. Now, with that being said, I'd like to thank you for joining me and making me a part of your day, night, dinner, or whatever. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to support me, I've got a Patreon too, so you can support me there. Yeah. Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
Patiently waiting on my dreams to come true, hoping and praying one day that they do. Oh, I don't know how, and I don't know when, just patient.